Well now, come on up here and sit a spell. I was just about to get into this old seed box of mine, and I figured it might be a good evening to sort through what we've got for the spring planting. The sun's still hanging there over the ridge, all soft and golden like it gets this time of day. The air's got that coolness to it, not cold, mind you, just gentle, like the mountains letting out a long, slow breath after the day. I've got my chair here on the porch, and there's another one right beside me if you want to settle in. No rush to anything. We've got all the time the evening wants to give us. This box here, it was my daddy's before it was mine. Made from wormy chestnut, back when you could still find chestnut in these hollers. The wood's gone smooth from all the years of hands opening it, closing it, sorting through the seeds inside. You can see where the corners have worn down, rounded off by time and touch. Let me just lift the lid here. There's that old familiar creak. Smells like dried paper and earth and summers past. Truth be told, every time I open this box, I catch a little bit of every garden I've ever grown. Now, these little paper envelopes, some of them are new, folded up neat with this year's varieties written on the outside. But most of them are old, real old. The paper's gone soft, almost like cloth, from being handled season after season. Here's one that says, "Greasy beans," in my Mama's handwriting. She must have written that 40 years ago, maybe more. The pencil's faded, but you can still make it out. Greasy beans, they're called that because when you cook them down, they get this silky, almost slick texture. Not greasy like fat, but smooth. They've been growing in this holler since before I was born. I'll open this packet up real careful. The paper's delicate now, worn thin at the creases. And inside there they are. Little tan beans with dark purple streaks running through them like watercolor. Each one's about the size of my thumbnail. Smooth and cool to the touch. I'll pour a few out into my palm. Listen to that soft sound they make, like rain on a tin roof, but quieter, gentler. Just a little whisper of bean against bean, settling into my hand. The weight of them is something I never get tired of. Feels like potential, if potential had a weight. Each one of these beans knows exactly what it's supposed to become. All that information tucked inside something so small. I'll let a few slip through my fingers back into the envelope, one at a time, watching them fall. Some people might think it's tedious, counting out seeds like this, but I find it settling. It gives the mind something simple to do while the rest of you just drifts. Here's another envelope. Mortgage lifter, tomatoes. Now that's a name with a story behind it. Fellow down in West Virginia bred these back in the 1930s during the Depression. He was a radiator repairman, believe it or not, and he got to tinkering with tomato plants. Crossed different varieties until he got one that produced these huge pink tomatoes, some of them weighing 2 pounds or more. He sold the seedlings for $1 each, which was real money back then, and paid off his mortgage on the house in 6 years, hence the name. The seeds are bigger than the bean seeds, flat and round with a little fuzzy coating on them, like they're wearing tiny sweaters. They're a pale yellow color, almost cream. When I rub them between my fingers, that fuzz comes off easy, and underneath the seed is smooth. I saved these from last year's best tomato. Let it get real ripe, past the point where you'd want to eat it fresh. Then scooped out the seeds and all that gel around them into a jar. Let it ferment for a few days on the counter. The fermentation breaks down that gel coating and actually makes the seeds germinate better. Old knowledge that, passed down. After the fermentation, I rinsed them clean and spread them out on a plate to dry. Took about a week before they were ready to store. And now here they are, waiting for their turn in the ground. I probably have 24 different varieties in this box. Cherokee Purple, Brandywine, Radiator Charlie's, which is another name for mortgage lifter. Moon and Stars watermelon seeds, those are something special, with each seed striped like a tiny watermelon itself. Each envelope tells a story, where the seeds came from, who gave them to me, or who I traded with. There's an envelope of hollyhock seeds for my neighbor up the road, Miss Opal. She's gone now, but every summer when those hollyhocks come up tall beside the fence, I think of her. That's the thing about heirloom seeds. They carry people with them. Memories. Connection. Well, I reckon before I can plant anything, I ought to make sure my tools are ready. Let me set this seed box aside for a moment. Real careful, so none of these envelopes spill. My garden fork is leaning there against the porch rail. I've had this fork for more years than I can count. The wooden handle smooth and dark from the oil of my hands, shaped itself to my grip over time. There's a crack in it about halfway down that I wrapped with copper wire 10 years back, and it's held ever since. The metal tines, 4 of them, thick and strong, they've got a good bit of rust on them, but that's honest rust. Work rust. It doesn't weaken the metal, just colors it, shows it's been used. I keep a whetstone out here in an old coffee can. It sits in a little bit of oil to keep it ready. Let me pull it out. Heavy in my hand, dark gray, surface smooth from years of sharpening. Now, the fork doesn't need to be sharp like a knife, but the edges of the tines should have a clean bevel to them. Helps them slide into the soil easier. I'll take the stone and run it along the inside edge of each tine. Slow, steady. Listen to that sound. Stone against metal. A soft, grinding whisper, almost like a hum. It's rhythmic, the way I move the stone forward along the tine, then lift and bring it back to the start. Forward again. There's something meditative about maintaining tools. Your mind goes quiet. Your hands know what to do without much thought. It's just you and the tool and the simple task of making it ready. Each tine gets the same attention. I'll check the edge with my thumb careful, like just to feel if it's got a clean bevel. Not trying to make it razor sharp, just right. Just ready for the work ahead. The hoe needs some attention too. It's an old Warren hoe, the kind with a triangular blade that comes to a point. Good for making furrows. Good for weeding between rows. The blade's gotten dull from last season, and there's a bit of dirt caked on it still. I'll take a wire brush to it first. Scrub away that dried dirt. The sound is scratchy, like brushing your teeth, but rougher. Little bits of soil fall away, dust drifting down onto the porch boards. Once it's clean, I can see the metal clear. See where the edge has gone round from use. Time for the stone again. Same motion as with the fork. Long, slow strokes along the beveled edge. The stone sings a little different against the hoe blade. A higher pitch, quieter. I work my way from one side of the blade to the other, then flip it and do the backside. The evening light is starting to go amber now. That deep, honey-colored light that makes everything look softer. The mountains across the way are going purple at their peaks. Tomorrow morning early, I'll head out to the garden plot. But let me tell you about it now, so you can see it in your mind. It's just beyond the old apple tree, down a little slope from the house. The plot's maybe 30 feet by 40 feet, not huge, but plenty for one man and enough to share. I've got it bordered with stacked stones that I've collected over the years. Every time I find a good rock, I add it to the border. Some of them have moss growing on one side, that bright green moss that only grows where the moisture settles. The soil in that plot, we've been building it for generations. Every fall, we put down leaves and kitchen scraps. Every spring, we turn it all under. Over time, the ground has gotten this dark, rich color, almost black when it's wet. It's loose and friable, which is a fancy word for saying it crumbles easy in your hand. When I walk out there in the morning, the grass will still have dew on it. My boots will get wet. The air will be cool enough that I can see my breath, just barely. The birds will be starting up. Cardinals and chickadees mostly. And maybe a wood thrush if I'm lucky. I'll stand at the edge of the plot for a moment, just looking at it, seeing it the way it is now, and seeing it the way it will be in a few months full of green plants and ripe vegetables, both visions at once. Then I'll step in, and the soil will give a little under my weight. Not muddy, just soft, responsive. The garden fork goes in first. I'll set the tines against the ground and push down with my boot on the top edge of the fork. Feel it sink in. There's always a moment of resistance, and then the tines slide down into the earth. When I lever the fork back, lifting the handle toward me, the soil breaks. You can hear it, that soft cracking sound, not loud, just a quiet breaking, like thick cloth tearing slowly. The soil lifts up in a clump on the tines of the fork. I'll give it a little shake, and the clump breaks apart, falls back down in looser pieces. That's the turning. That's what we're doing, taking what's been compacted over the winter and opening it up, letting air in, making space for roots to grow. I'll work my way across the plot in rows, push the fork in, lever it back, shake the soil loose. Step back about a foot, push the fork in again, lever it back, shake. It's a rhythm that gets into your body. Your muscles remember it from year to year. Your breathing falls into time with it. Push, lever, shake, step, push, lever, shake. The sun will climb a little higher as I work. The dew will start to burn off. The soil will warm under my hands. Sometimes the fork will hit a stone. You can feel it in your hands, that sudden solid stop. I'll work the fork around it, loosen the soil, and pull the stone out. Some of them are small, the size of a hen's egg. Some are bigger, need 2 hands to lift. I'll toss them over to the border, add them to the wall. Every now and then, I'll stop and pick up a handful of soil, just to check it. Squeeze it in my fist. If it holds together, but breaks apart easy when I poke it, that's good moisture. If it's too wet, it'll stick together in a ball and smear. If it's too dry, it'll just fall apart like dust. But this morning in my mind's eye, it's just right. It holds together and then crumbles and falls through my fingers like dark sugar. Now there's a right time for planting, and it's not just about the weather. Up here in these mountains, we pay attention to the signs, the moon signs. My grandmother taught me this when I was a boy. She had an almanac that she kept on the kitchen table, and she'd consult it before planting anything. She'd say, "We plant root crops in the dark of the moon when it's waning." That's after the full moon, when the moon is getting smaller in the sky each night. The idea is that the energy is going down into the earth. And that's where you want root crops to put their energy. Down into carrots, potatoes, turnips. Above ground crops, things like tomatoes, beans, squash. Those get planted in the light of the moon. That's when the moon is waxing, getting bigger, moving toward full. The energy is rising, coming up, and that's what you want for plants that fruit above the ground. There's more to it than just waxing and waning, though. The moon moves through different signs of the zodiac, and each sign has a quality. Some signs are considered fertile, good for planting. Some are barren, better for weeding or clearing ground. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, those are the water signs, and they're the most fertile. If you can plant when the moon is in one of those signs, and in the right phase, your garden will flourish. Taurus and Capricorn are earth signs, good and steady for root crops especially. Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, those are fire signs, dry and barren. Good days for harvesting or turning soil, but not for planting. Now, I know some folks don't put much stock in this. They'll say it's superstition, old wives' tales. And maybe it is, but I'll tell you this. My grandmother's garden never failed. Neither did my daddy's. Neither has mine. There's something to it. Whether it's the gravitational pull of the moon on the moisture in the soil, or something we don't understand yet, Or just the fact that paying attention to these signs makes you more mindful of your planting. I don't know, but it works. So I check the almanac. I wait for the right signs. I don't rush it. The garden teaches patience. You can't force things. You can't make a seed grow faster by worrying at it. You just put it in the ground at the right time, in the right way, and then you wait. And trust. When the day comes, when the signs are right and the soil is ready, then it's time to plant. I'll take my seed box out to the garden, set it on a flat stone at the edge of the plot. The sun will be warm on my shoulders. There might be a little breeze moving through, just enough to carry the smell of the soil. First, I'll make the furrows. That's where the hoe comes in. I'll stretch a string from one end of the garden to the other, tied to 2 stakes, to keep my rows straight. Then I'll walk along that string with the hoe, drawing the blade through the soil. The point of the hoe cuts a clean line. The soil piles up on either side. The sound is a soft shushing, soil against metal, a gentle scraping. I'll make the furrow about 1/2 inch deep for small seeds, maybe 1 inch for bigger ones like beans. Just a shallow trough in the earth. Then I'll take the first seed packet. Let's say it's the greasy beans. I'll open the envelope and pour a few seeds into my palm. Kneeling down beside the furrow, I'll start placing the seeds, 1 every 3 inches or so, just dropping them into the furrow, 1 at a time. Count them out. 1, 2, 3. Each seed makes a tiny sound when it lands on the soil. A soft tap. Almost nothing, but you can hear it if you're listening. My knees press into the earth. I can feel the dampness through my overalls. My hands are getting dirty. Soil collecting under my fingernails and in the creases of my palms. That's fine. Good even. 1, 2, 3. Moving down the row. When I get to the end, I'll go back to the start and cover them up. I'll use my hands for this, not the hoe. Just gently push the soil from the sides of the furrow back over the seeds. Pat it down lightly. The soil is cool and damp against my palms. I'll smooth it over, making sure each seed is covered. Not too deep, just enough. Then I'll move on to the next row. Stretch the string, make the furrow, plant the seeds, cover them. Tomato seeds go in, then maybe some lettuce, radishes, carrots. Each variety gets its own row, and I'll mark each row with a little wooden stake that has the name written on it. That way, I remember what's what when the seedlings start coming up. The work is slow, methodical. The sun moves across the sky. Shadows shift. My back starts to ache a little from bending over, so I'll sit back on my heels and rest for a moment. Look out at what I've done. Rows of freshly turned earth with seeds hidden beneath. It doesn't look like much yet, just dirt. But I can see it already in a few weeks, little green sprouts pushing up. In a few months, a whole garden full of life. There's a satisfaction in that. A deep, quiet satisfaction that doesn't need words. The day is getting on now, in my mind. The light is starting to go soft again. That long, gentle light of late afternoon. I'll gather up my tools, brush the soil off my hands, pick up the seed box and tuck it under my arm. Walking back to the house, I'll feel that good tiredness in my muscles. The kind of tiredness that comes from honest work, from doing something with purpose. I'll set the tools back in their place in the shed, hang the hoe on its nail, lean the fork in the corner, put the seed box back on its shelf. Then I'll make my way back to the porch and settle into my chair. The evening air is cool now. The light is going gold, and then amber, and then soft gray. The mountains are turning that deep purple blue that they get at twilight. I can hear the peepers starting up down by the creek. Those little spring frogs with their high, singing voices. They sound like bells, like tiny bells ringing in the gathering dark. And I'll sit here, and I'll think about those seeds in the ground. I'll think about how they're resting there in the cool soil, how they're drinking in the moisture, how in their own time, when the conditions are just right, they'll split open and send a tiny root down and a tiny shoot up. That's faith, in a way, putting seeds in the ground. You can't see what's happening down there in the dark. You can't know for certain that they'll germinate, but you trust. You trust in the seeds knowing. You trust in the soil. You trust in the rain that will come and the sun that will warm the earth. There's a patience to the dirt, a slow, steady patience. It doesn't rush. It doesn't worry. It just receives what you give it and does its work in the quiet darkness. And I reckon that's something we could all learn from. That patience, that trust. The stars are starting to come out now. Just a few at first, the brightest ones. And then more and more, like someone's lighting candles across the sky. There's the Big Dipper, right there. And if you follow the pointer stars, you can find the North Star, Polaris, steady and constant. My grandmother used to say that the same stars that are shining down on this porch right now are shining down on every garden everywhere. Every person who's ever put a seed in the ground and waited for it to grow has looked up at these same stars. That's a long line of people, stretching back through time. All of us doing the same simple work, planting, tending, harvesting, saving seeds, planting again. It connects you to something bigger, something that goes beyond your own life, your own little patch of ground. You're part of a story that's been going on for thousands of years. And that's a comfort, somehow. Well, now, it's getting late. The night's settling in proper now. I expect you'll want to be heading off to bed soon, and that's good. Rest is important, just as important as the work. Before you go, though, I want to give you something to carry with you into your sleep. Think about those seeds, resting in the dark soil, safe, held, waiting for their time. You're like that too, in a way. When you sleep, you're resting in the dark, letting the day's work settle, letting your body and your mind restore themselves. There's a wisdom in that rest, a necessary pause. You can't grow without it. So let yourself rest now. Let yourself be held by the dark. Trust that you'll wake when it's time. Trust that whatever you've planted, whatever seeds of intention or hope or effort you've put into the ground of your life, they're doing their work in the quiet. You don't have to watch over them every minute. You don't have to worry. Just rest. The garden will grow. The sun will rise. The seasons will turn. Everything in its own time. Sleep well now. May your dreams be gentle. May your rest be deep. And may you wake with the birds, refreshed and ready for whatever new day is coming. The porch light will be on if you need it. But for now, just let yourself drift. Let yourself settle. Like seeds in the good earth. Like stars in the wide sky. Rest now, and may God bless and keep you.